and Brewer. Today we will be hearing from NYC EDC on the fiscal 2025 preliminary budget, including the preliminary capital commitment plan and updates on their fiscal 2023 investment projects. In addition to the NYC EDC capital projects, NYC EDC also manages capital projects for various other agencies. The agency also oversees much of the discretionary economic development investment projects which involve advisory and financial assistance from EDC. Each one of these programs should support and be well integrated with one another to properly execute the city's economic development and vital infrastructure goals. Today we plan to examine to what extent this is occurring, where improvements can be made, and the overall feasibility of NYC EDC's capital and investment program. NYC EDC is the city's primary agent for economic development, and their principal mandate is to encourage investment and to attract, retain, and create jobs in New York City. As such, this committee is interested in having a robust conversation about how NYC EDC's budget, as laid out in this year's preliminary plan, connects to the larger job creation and economic development strategies of the city. One of the ways NYC EDC supports the growth of the city's economy and job market is through what it calls investment projects. These represent discretionary financial assistance, largely in the form of tax breaks and tax-exempt bond financing. In fiscal 2023, there were 449 total active investment projects at a total cost of $257.2 million. Many of these projects represent investments made years or even decades ago under prior administrations. However, 21 of these projects were in the new fiscal 2023 and represent a commitment of multi-year tax reductions worth roughly $11.9 million. Looking to the current fiscal year, the big news is that EDC has committed the first two investment projects under the new MCOR program. This program is an attempt to use tax incentives to encourage the revitalization of struggling office buildings. Together, these first two incentives represent a multi-year commitment of nearly $100 million in tax breaks. I would like NYC EDC to update us on how investment projects are selected, how the benefits to the city are calculated, including what assumptions are made, and how these projects relate to the city's larger economic development goals. Additionally, I would also like to know if any of these projects have penalties or have been subject to cancellation of aid, and what lessons are learned in those situations. The fiscal 2025 preliminary capital commitment plan, which covers fiscal 2024 to 2028, includes $3 billion for NYC EDC. NYC EDC's 10-year capital plan includes $5.8 billion in fiscal 2024 to 2033. Today, I would like EDC to provide this committee with information regarding both revenue contributed by NYC EDC to the general fund and net revenue generated post-contributions to the general fund. From fiscal 2019 to fiscal 2021, NYC EDC had negative net revenue with a positive $96 million in fiscal 2022, then dropping by nearly 2/3 to $32.5 million. The committee would like to know what types of reserves EDC utilizes when it experiences a net revenue loss, and to understand the reason for the decrease in fiscal 2023 when compared to 2022. It is essential that the budget we adopt is transparent, accountable, and reflective of the priorities and interests of the council and the people we represent. This hearing is a vital part of this process, and I expect that NYC EDC will be responsive to the questions and concerns of council members. I look forward to an active engagement with the administration over the next few months to ensure the upcoming fiscal 2025 adopted budget meets the goals the council has set out. I'd like to thank Andrew Kimball and Jennifer Montalvo for coming here today and testifying. I would like to thank NYC EDC staff who have been consistently responsive to our many requests. We would not have been able to analyze the city's budget at such detailed level without your cooperation, so thank you. I would also like to thank both my staff and the staff of the Finance and Legislative Divisions for their help in preparing for today's hearing. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge we've also been joined by Councilmember Salamanca. With that, thank you, and we'll kick it over to you.
Please state your names for the record.
Andrew Kimball.
Jennifer Montalvo.
And do you affirm to tell the truth and answer all questions to the best of your ability?
I do.
Good afternoon, Chair Farias and members of the Economic Development Committee. Thank you for your continued partnership and support for the New York City Economic Development Corporation. I'm Andrew Kimball, President and CEO of NYC EDC, and I'm here today with my Chief of Staff, Jennifer Montalvo. Is it on? No. How's that? Better? Is that better? Okay. I'm glad to have the opportunity to update you on the progress EDC has made over the last year. We provided you with copies of our 2023 Impact Report, which highlights our work, and our February 2024 Economic Snapshot. We're really proud of these products and hope you'll take a look at them. They track key economic data and our projects, and the snapshot was just released yesterday, so it has the most recent information on our economy. I'm happy to answer any questions on these reports, as well as, of course, questions on the PPMR and the AIR at the conclusion of my testimony. EDC is a mission-driven, nonprofit organization which works to create a vibrant, inclusive, and globally competitive economy for all New Yorkers. This mission guides all of our work and is implemented through 4 strategy pillars. First, EDC works to strengthen confidence in New York City as a great place to do business, ensuring that industry and business leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, and top talent have confidence that New York City, the world's 10th largest economy, is the best city in the world to do business. Critical to business confidence is having a plan with concrete action items in place to help us both recover from the COVID years while leading us towards a stronger, more resilient, and equitable post-COVID economy. With the support of EDC, just 2 years ago, Mayor Adams released a blueprint to rebuild, renew, and reinvent New York City following the pandemic. Today, despite challenging economic headwinds over the last 4 years, we've recovered all 1 million jobs lost during the pandemic and have reached an all-time high for private sector employment, as well as overall jobs, with 4.7 million in total jobs. We have the highest workforce participation rate, defined as those with jobs and actively looking for jobs, since 1976, the year this data was first collected, and the unemployment rate is half its COVID peak. During this recovery, the city has seen phenomenal growth in business creation, especially small businesses. Approximately 27,000 new businesses started in 2023, or 1 in 7 businesses in New York City, with 62% in boroughs outside of Manhattan. In addition to the jobs blueprint, in 2022, again with the support of EDC, the mayor and the governor launched the Making New York Work for Everyone action plan, which, with input from 50 business and civic leaders and subject area experts, laid out over 40 proposals and a shared city-state agenda focused on the future of job centers, neighborhoods, the way people work, key industries, infrastructure, talent development, and more. The action plan has led to tangible progress on scores of initiatives, including redevelopment plans for commercial hubs from the North Shore of Staten Island to Broadway Junction in Brooklyn, from Jamaica, Queens to Morris Park in the Bronx. EDC has been particularly focused on the fact that Midtown and downtown Manhattan, New York City's 2 most significant job hubs that generate approximately 40% of total property tax revenue, continue to have close to 100 million square feet of aging and vacant office space. 3 of the panel's 40 strategies seek to address this challenge. 1 is through enacting legislative and regulatory changes to facilitate the conversion of 20 to 30 million square feet of vacant office space to residential. 2 is to convert up to 10 million square feet from aging and vacant office space to amenity-rich and high-quality office space that meets the demands of the current workforce. And 3 is to transform the city's urban realm with improved green and open space. We continue to be hopeful that the state legislature will act to further some of these initiatives, and we look forward to continuing to work with the City Council on the Mayor's City of Yes zoning proposals to advance others. While we wait for these legislative processes, EDC has begun to tackle high commercial vacancy rates through our MCORE program. The MCORE program incentivizes building owners to undertake major renovations that will green their buildings, target EDC's priority innovation sectors, and provide important on-site amenities from childcare to incubators. In January, the New York City IDA Board approved the first 2 MCORE projects, which provide nearly $98 million in tax incentives over 20 years. This incentive will leverage a 5-fold return to city tax revenue generated, providing $580 million in revenue over the same 20-year period. In addition, we've undertaken numerous Midtown public realm initiatives from Broadway to Fifth Avenue to the Penn Station District to encourage people to come back to the office place. Our second strategy pillar is growing innovation industries with a focus on equity. EDC has a dynamic range of programs to support life sciences, the green economy, and the tech sector more broadly. These sectors are not only important for their innovation, from products that reduce carbon footprint to drugs and therapies that cure disease, but also for job creation and economic impact for New Yorkers across all 5 boroughs. This means not only expanding the number of businesses in high-growth industries, but also ensuring pathways to good-paying jobs in these sectors are available and accessible to all New Yorkers. Due in part to EDC's efforts, employment in the tech sector has grown rapidly, from under 100,000 jobs in 2008 to over 350,000 jobs today, or 7% of all city jobs. New York City is now the second largest tech hub in the world, trailing only the Bay Area. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is having a dramatic impact on all innovation sectors, including tech. New York is uniquely positioned to benefit from this new technology, with approximately 40,000 people in the New York City region with AI and AI-adjacent skills. EDC is devoting resources to studying AI and its job-creating potential, as well as its disruptive capabilities. Later this year, we plan to release an AI report and announce new programmatic interventions to support private sector growth and workforce development opportunities. Thanks in part to EDC's $1.1 billion Life Sciences New York City initiative, employment in the industry grew 50% over the last 5 years, and continued strategic investments can double the number of New Yorkers working in the life sciences from approximately 20,000 today to over 40,000 in the next 10 years. We're focused on this industry not only for its immense overall growth potential, but also for its ability to create opportunities for those from all educational backgrounds, with only about a half of all the jobs in the industry requiring a college degree. Critical to this sector is the ability of biotech companies to afford to grow in New York City, and we want to thank the Council for voting to renew the biotechnology tax credit. Similar to tech and life sciences, EDC sees the green economy as a major source of growth for New York City in the coming years and decades. Last month, alongside Mayor Adams, EDC released the Green Economy Action Plan, a first-of-its-kind plan that lays out a roadmap to grow the city's green economy. The plan maps investments and jobs in sectors that will help the city combat climate change and train and position New Yorkers, particularly those from environmentally disadvantaged communities, to benefit from the growth of green-collar jobs. The plan outlines the potential for the industry to triple 2021 employment numbers by 2040, growing employment to nearly 400,000 jobs. EDC pursues strategies that focus on pathways to economic mobility for underrepresented New Yorkers, primarily through workforce development initiatives, minority and women-owned contracting, and diverse entrepreneurship programs. I'd like to highlight just a few examples of the many ways we have integrated these pathways into our projects and overall strategy. In 2023, our LifeSci New York City internship program had another successful year. The program provides undergraduate and graduate students with quality internships in the life sciences field. Since the program's inception in 2018, it has placed 718 students at 180 companies. Nearly 50% of the internships either extended or leading to jobs, and approximately 50% of all the participants being CUNY students. We are advancing the Spark Kips Bay project, a transformational project that will create a unique job pipeline for New Yorkers, where a student can go from high school to college to internship to a job in life sciences, all on the same campus. We're proud of the way this project incorporates our main strategies for workforce development, strengthening New York City Public School CUNY pathways, creating centralized training hubs, creating place-based workforce networks, and expanding industry apprenticeships and internships. We recently announced the expansion of our partnership with BioBus in the Bronx, which provides educational programming and STEM-related training to students of all ages. We also invested $500,000 in GenSpace, which is located in Sunset Park, and will be the world's first community biology lab, providing hands-on training to access laboratory jobs. In November, we joined the mayor and the FedCap group to celebrate the opening of Civic Hall at Union Square, a tech and digital hub that is expected to serve 750 people in its first year and will create an inclusive talent pipeline for good-paying jobs in the city's tech sector. Partners at Civic Hall include the Data School and LaGuardia Community College, which are training students in data visualization and analytics. EDC has also continued our work to support the next generation of diverse entrepreneurs and founders. In 2023, the Founder Fellowship Program welcomed its second cohort of 100 tech founder teams from across the city. As a result of their participation, the 2023 Founder Fellows companies hired nearly 80 new employees, and their combined valuation increased by $112 million. Another 60 founder teams have joined for the 2024 fellowship cohort, of which 2/3 have at least one female founder, and nearly 80% are led by Black, Latinx, or Asian founders. In 2023, EDC initiated the Venture Access Alliance, which works hand in hand with the Founder Fellowship Program. This coalition of 100 New York City venture capital investors is committed to working together to increase diversity in the city's tech and venture ecosystem. Through Women.NYC, EDC has worked with over 1,800 women entrepreneurs since 2023 through a social capital building program to connect women interested in innovation industries with career advisors and mentors to help them explore new opportunities for growth. The network features carefully tailored programming to ensure that women play significant roles in the future of the city's economy. We're also committed to ensuring diversity in our contracting. In FY23, 29.2% of all awards went to MWBEs, equating to $159 million in contract value. During the same period, 31.7% of all payments went towards MWBE, corresponding to $187.7 million. Our MWBE-focused programs like Construct NYC and the Offshore Wind Waterfront Pathways Program creates critical pipelines to ensure that diverse firms are able to access EDC contracts while also giving them technical and financial support to expand. At the Brooklyn Army Terminal, we're building the Climate Innovation Hub. This project marks a $100 million investment in bringing business development, incubation, research, and workforce development programs to a 4 million square foot campus, turning Sunset Park into a center for innovation, advanced manufacturing, and workforce training. Our third pillar at EDC is building neighborhoods as places to live, learn, work, and play. We help shape the growth and revitalization of industry clusters and business districts, bringing jobs closer to where people live. We do this by delivering spaces that bring jobs and essential services, as well as open spaces, and by strategically developing our assets to drive new business activity across all 5 boroughs. While impossible for me to speak to the dozens of EDC projects, I'd like to highlight a sample of our neighborhood and borough-specific work. In August, we announced $200 million in city and state funding towards the redevelopment of the historic Kingsbridge Armory in the Bronx and the fulfillment of the Together for Kingsbridge Vision Plan. The vision plan is grounded in community priorities, focused on creating good-paying jobs, local jobs that build economic opportunity and improve the quality of life for people in the Kingsbridge Heights and neighboring Bronx communities. Moving to Hunts Point, we broke ground on the Peninsula, Phase 2, which will deliver 350 affordable homes as part of the broader project to reimagine the former Spofford Juvenile Detention Center, transforming it into a mixed-use live-work campus. EDC is also continuing to move forward with the Hunts Point produce market redevelopment, which has secured $395 million in federal, state, and city funding and seeks to build a state-of-the-art, all-electric food distribution facility, allowing current businesses to grow, creating union jobs while removing over 1,000 trucks from fossil fuel generators. EDC has secured $15 million in federal funding to support the development of the first electric freight hub in a former brownfield site in Hunts Point. We continue also to move forward with commitments laid out in the Hunts Point Forward Vision Plan, such as investing in resiliency effort and supporting local community initiatives. Moving on to Brooklyn, in May we announced $500 million investment in East New York, including $400 million from the MTA around the Broadway Junction subway station complex to make the area a true regional center, drive accessibility upgrades, deliver vibrant public space, improve quality of life, create good-paying jobs, and unlock inclusive economic growth. EDC's investment will result in 2 new public plazas, streetscape improvements, and activation of 3 publicly owned sites to foster continued business development. We continue to invest aggressively in the 200-acre Sunset Park District. In the Brooklyn Army Terminal, EDC and the city are investing $286 million to modernize the World War II-era buildings, including the $100 million for the previously mentioned Climate Innovation Hub. Construction will soon begin on the 75-acre South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, making it a world-class offshore wind port facility that's expected to generate 1,000 jobs in the near term and support up to 13,000 jobs in the regional offshore wind ecosystem by 2035. EDC is also making progress on the Made in New York campus at the Bush Terminal. The first 200,000 square foot building will be modernized and opens this summer and is only the first part of a multi-phase development. In Upper Manhattan, this past August, we announced the beginning of the archaeological work at the Harlem African Burial Ground, and we recently selected an educational and engagement partner who will support community education throughout the archaeological process. The project will also include 600 to 700 units of housing and commercial opportunities, along with community space. Moving downtown, in November, we joined the mayor and deputy mayor Maria Torres Springer to unveil the Science Park and Research Campus Spark Kips Bay Master Plan, laying the groundwork for a first-of-its-kind job and education center at the heart of New York City. The project will create an estimated 3,100 permanent jobs in the life sciences sector and nearly 12,000 construction jobs. We are hitting all key milestones and expect to break ground on the project in 2025. On Staten Island, in September, we joined Mayor Adams and released the Staten Island North Shore Action Plan, building a vibrant and mixed-use waterfront community. The plan articulates a clear and unified vision for the North Shore and is a result of months of collaboration between EDC, local council member, and countless other city agencies. It directly responds to the mayor's 2023 Working People's Agenda, State of the City address, where he announced the start of a community engagement process and roadmap for the future of the North Shore of Staten Island. The plan represents over $400 million in public investment that will create 20 acres of continuous waterfront public access, providing a significant public amenity for residents and visitors. The action plan includes a 2-mile continuous waterfront esplanade stretching from Stapleton to St. George. These public investments will create nearly 2,400 new homes on city-owned land, thousands of additional homes on private sites, a new public school with 800 K through 8 school seats, and 1.3 million square feet of new commercial space. Moving to Queens, this past December, we broke ground on the first phase of Willets Point. In all, this project will bring 2,500 units of 100% affordable housing, a new public school, 400,000 square feet of new public open space, retail space, a 250-key hotel, and the city's first soccer-specific stadium, which will be privately financed. We are looking forward to the council's vote on the Willets rezoning, unlocking this project in the coming weeks. In May 2023, Mayor Adams announced the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan to identify new ways to create jobs, housing, design improvements to streetscapes in downtown Jamaica. Led by DCP, the planning process will produce a community-driven draft neighborhood plan with the goal of informing the city's rezoning process and explore opportunities for improvements throughout the neighborhood, many of which EDC will play a role in. Our last pillar is delivering sustainable infrastructure. We work to deliver the infrastructure and buildings New York City needs, not just for today, but also for the challenges today, for the future. One great example of our commitment to building sustainable infrastructure is the Blue Highways Initiative, facilitating the movement of freight via waterways instead of roadways. 6 new landings throughout the city are currently in design, allowing for barge and boat small package deliveries that will reach their final destination on e-cargo bikes. Last year, we launched a new vision for the downtown Manhattan heliport, a vision that will establish New York as the first city in the world to adapt its heliport infrastructure to support sustainable air mobility technologies. We are currently reviewing RFP responses for an operator to upgrade the heliport and provide infrastructure for electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. 2023 was a momentous year for NYC Ferry. The system had record ridership and signed a new operating contract that will lock in the system's operation for at least the next 5 years. The new agreement improves ridership experience, expands accessibility and tech features, increases transparency and oversight of the system, and provides further investment by New York City Ferry as a maritime career pipeline. We are also thrilled that we were able to partner with you, Chair Farias, to create a pilot program to provide Harbor School students discounted ferry fares, and we look forward to expanding this program to all New York City high school students this fall. We're proud to take a leadership role within the city to ensure that we have the infrastructure necessary to deliver on our green commitments. At JFK, we're creating the largest EV charging facility in New York City with 65 public EV chargers, including 12 rapid runs. The facility is currently estimated to charge 1,000 vehicles per year with the potential for growth. Through the New York City Industrial Development Authority Board, we're helping to ensure dozens of battery storage projects have the financing necessary to be completed while helping the city connect to upstate hydroelectric and solar power through the Champlain Hudson Power Express project, CHIPPY. These projects, along with our offshore wind port and interconnection point for offshore wind power, will bring green energy to millions of New York City homes. For more information on all of EDC's critical works, we provided you with copies of the impact report, and we encourage you to also review it online, where we have multimedia components that bring several of our projects to life, showcase New Yorkers who benefit from our work, and highlight EDC staff who propel our mission forward day in and day out. I'm proud to do this work in partnership with all of you, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. We welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for this very thorough multi-page testimony. We appreciate all the feedback and on all the wonderful projects we have going on. I know I'd also like to add, we've been joined by Councilmember Bottcher, My colleagues have questions, and I have loads of them, so I'm going to ask a few first for me, and then I'll open up the floor to my colleagues so they can ask their questions, as I encourage them to stay for the additional questions I have afterward as well. So I'd like to jump straight into NYC ferries. You folks know I'm obsessed, love the ferry system, and I'd be remiss if I didn't go on record saying my mom is a ferry rider every single day, and she gives me all the complaints and wonderful successes too. So in early 2015, the de Blasio administration announced the establishment of our citywide ferry system, and the intent was to connect our waterfront communities throughout New York City, which I think we've done a really great job at. The biggest complaint I hear from constituents so far is about the wait time for the ferries. The ferries only really arrive every once 45 minutes or so. Are there any plans to add any more ferries to the current fleet? And if so, or even if not so, do we know what it would cost to increase the frequency to 2 ferries an hour?
I appreciate the question, and I appreciate your passion for the system. It is shared. As you know, when the administration began, NYC Ferry was not in good shape at all. It had a massive per passenger rider subsidy of about $13 per passenger. Now, while all mass transit is subsidized, that is exceedingly high. So we have worked very hard to stabilize the system. Part of that has been re-upping our contract with Hornblower with new rules within the contract, with new goals within it. We've also restructured the fares such that those who qualify for food stamps or fair fares pay half the rate, as do senior New Yorkers. And we're proud to say over 12,000 people have signed up for that already. For those who are commuters, you can pay the same as a subway or bus if you buy a 10-pack. And for those who are one-time riders, maybe more well-off New Yorkers or tourists, you're going to pay $4. And if you want a premium ride to sit on the beach in the Rockaways, you're going to pay upwards of $10. That has gone a long way to stabilizing the system. We have taken the per passenger subsidy down 30% to around $8. We're very proud of that. But we've got a lot more wood to chop. We know there's not only interest in expanding the number of boats that are currently running to reduce wait times, but there's also a lot of interest in seeing the system expand. So we're currently evaluating all of these things, and we expect in the coming year we'll be able to announce a framework for future growth. And when I say future growth, you know, that includes more boats and lower wait times.
Okay, great. We're all excited about adding more to our fleet to reduce those wait times and hopefully getting to more places throughout the city. So as you mentioned in your testimony, in March of 2023, my Bill 236A passed, and it expanded the contracted ferry service at reduced costs to include high school students. This bill takes effect this September. How is EDC planning to roll out this program, and how will you folks plan to market the program?
Yeah, well, first of all, the pilot's been going very well with the Harbor School, so that is a good thing. We are in planning mode right now and plan to open up eligibility to all students when they begin school in September. So we're currently working with the school systems on distribution of information about this program and how you sign up and qualify for the discounted rate.
And has the pilot showed us the best way to use either the application or the paper ticketing system? Like some students might not have, what we were assuming some students might not have a smartphone in order to get it. Have we worked out all of those kinks?
We're in process, and I'd be happy to put together a detailed follow-up memo on it for you.
Great, sounds good to me. Do you expect to see an increase in ridership once the program goes into effect?
You know, that is the goal with all of these programs. You know, the fastest way to get increased ridership is to get those who have experienced it to use it more. So the goal is, you know, get people in the system, whether you're a senior citizen who maybe hasn't taken advantage of it or a high school student. And, you know, certainly for a high school student, you're then going to develop a lifelong love for using the system. So even though you're giving a discount on the front end, it's an investment in the future, because I think as those students grow up and become adults and are able to pay full fare, they'll make better use of the system. So we expect ridership to continue to go up.
Great. Recently, it was reported that NYC EDC ferry operator Hornblower has filed for bankruptcy. A private equity firm, Strategic Value Partners, is reported to have plans to acquire a large portion of Hornblower's operations. However, Hornblower has said the bankruptcy isn't expected to impact the city's ferry operations. Is EDC able to gauge the impact the bankruptcy will have on Hornblower's ability to provide these services?
Yeah, so the Hornblower Group, which is the parent company of the city's operator, plans to restructure their company through Chapter 11. There are a lot of different forms of bankruptcy. This is really a restructuring, which we think will have a lot of beneficial outcomes, actually. They're doing this because one of the group companies, an overnight cruise company called American Queen Voyage, struggled during the pandemic. They mostly do cruises on rivers elsewhere in the United States, and it was just did not pick up in the same way that ocean cruises have exploded post-COVID. River cruises, for whatever reason, have not come back. And so the restructuring allows them to shed that business and bring in additional investment of about $120 million. So it'll be a few months, this process of going through bankruptcy. There have been no impacts to service. We're convinced there will be no impacts to service, and we think in the long term, it'll actually result in a financially stronger Hornblower for the future.
That's great to hear. And considering that the equity firm, Strategic Value Partners, will be acquiring a large stake in Hornblower, has EDC had conversations around understanding them continuing to plan to provide ferry services, or whether the contract maintains or stabilizes despite them having a larger stake in Hornblower?
We haven't, and those conversations aren't necessary because our contract with Hornblower has very tight requirements for service, and if they're not meeting them, we can replace them.
Okay. That leaned into my next question. And then just wanted to quickly ask on record about the fares. None of this impacts the ferry fares and quality of service, correct?
The bankruptcy issue?
Yeah, the acquisition
Absolutely
of
not.
bankruptcy. Okay, great. Okay, moving on to heliports, our other favorite topic. They have been a long contentious issue in the city, particularly in regard to noise issues. It was announced by the mayor and EDC would deliver an electric-powered aircraft that would address some of the noise pollution issues, as well as being more sustainable and environmentally friendly. Has EDC found an operator to upgrade the heliport to allow for electric aircrafts?
Yeah, we absolutely recognize New Yorkers' concerns about helicopter noise, and we are very focused on a more livable city and a greener city, and electrifying our helicopter use is a key part of that. Our powers are limited with regulating that industry. It is primarily regulated through the federal government. So we have done a lot of what we can do in terms of restricting tourism flights to just over water. So the flights that typically tend to cause complaints, not all, but typically originate on the West Side heliport, which is a heliport we do not control. Most of the complaints originate from helicopters coming from New Jersey, which we have no control over. The good news is, overwhelmingly, the industry is moving towards eVTOLs, which are electric helicopters. We were really proud that we were the first urban area, dense urban area anywhere in the world to test these new technologies, where we had multiple eVTOLs do test runs between Governor's Island and Brooklyn Bridge. And we are also, as you said, requiring through the current RFP that we have out that the infrastructure is in place, the EV charging, so that the minute the FAA approves eVTOLs for use, and we hope that's within 24 months, that they will be deployed on site in the Manhattan heliport. The other significant news about that RFP is that we are requiring that the operator also operate one of the 6 federally funded landings for Blue Highway, where goods will be brought in by barge or by boat, get on electric e-cargo bites for last mile delivery, which will substantially reduce congestion and truck traffic and pollution on our streets. We have gotten responses, a significant number, and we're currently reviewing them and should have news soon.
Great, thank you. And I heard you say 24 months. So my next question was, we've heard that the FAA certification is anticipated in as early as 2025. Are we hearing it's 2026 now? What's that timeline look like?
I am hopeful that it is approved as at the first possible moment they will approve it. We do know from our conversations with the FAA that they're actively looking at it. They're testing this technology. The military is using this technology already.
Exactly.
So I am very hopeful that it's 2025, but
Great,
always
me
like to
too.
leave a
I've
little
had
cushion.
several conversations with different vendors at our heliports, and there's a variation of degree of folks feeling some of our bills in the council are premature or not quite up to speed, but as you just stated, we know these technology is already being used, and we see it's proven. We just have to move in that direction. So I agree with you. The U.S. Department of Transportation awarded a $5 million grant to EDC to create and support a marine highway. Can you please describe how this grant will aid in the goal of economic development?
Yeah, this is a really important grant that we were thrilled to receive. We've received some bigger ones, but strategically this one is absolutely critical that will allow us to design and implement 6 different landings, starting with the Manhattan heliport, where goods can be brought in by barge or by boat. This is mostly last mile small package deliveries that would either roll off that boat or barge on a e-cargo bike and go out into the streets, or transload from the barge or boat onto an e-bike for that last mile delivery. This is the beginning of what needs to be a much broader strategy that we call Blue Highways more generally. We recently tested the marketplace with a request for expressions of interest. So typically when you do that, you want to get a sense of where the market is. You're not ready to award because you're not quite sure where industry is going. We did get a robust response with a lot of interest in sites that included those 6 MARAD-funded sites, included our ferry stops, included sites like Pier 92 on the west side, or the Red Hook terminal in Brooklyn.
Great, thank you for that. As you know, the committee has concerns about heliports and the activity of private companies that use these city assets. Has EDC conducted any studies to gauge the revenue generating capacity of leasing the heliports?
Well, essentially that is what we do. So we find a private operator who leases the space from us. So it is a revenue generator for us. It's not huge, but it's important. And we think there's a chance for it to go up because, as we may get into in future conversation, we typically do not get city tax levy. It's a minuscule portion of our budget. So we need to generate revenues off of our assets, whether it's the heliport or the Brooklyn Army Terminal or the Hunts Point Produce
That's
Center.
more so what I'm leaning towards. I mean, when we had our helicopter oversight hearing, we got the numbers of it ranging from $1.2 to $2 million in revenue annually from the leasing of the heliports. Have we looked at increasing some of those lease amounts, or scaling them based off of usage or things like that?
Let me just say it's a key part of the competitive process.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm going to ask a couple questions about our capital commitment, and then I'll open it up to colleagues. The preliminary capital commitment plan shows a reduction of approximately $460 million in fiscal years 2024 to 2028, as commitments are rolled from the early part of the plan to the out years. Can you explain to the committee how EDC determines which projects were rolled into the out years?
Well, part of the reason you see a lower capital commitment than last time we met is that some big projects finished. So in particular, we were responsible for rebuilding a significant portion of the city's hospital system from Coney Island to the Public Health Lab. We're currently working on the Metropolitan Hospital on Upper East Side. So that's one answer. Like other agencies, we had to move out monies from near years to farther out. That is a balancing act. We believe we've been able to achieve that without delaying the construction start or implementation of any of our key capital projects, so that is good news. Often there are monies that are not yet earmarked in the far out years, so in maybe years 8, 9, 10 of a capital budget. Some of that was trimmed, was cut. We are hopeful that that will come back into the cycle once the city's capital budget situation is further resolved.
Okay. And is there a systematic process for determining priorities for capital commitments, or does EDC analyze them on an ad hoc or project level? I know you just described, like, you had some of the larger projects off of the docket because they were like the more
I'd say
immediate.
there are two big buckets of our projects. One are what I'll call EDC projects, where they are on city-owned land or city-owned managed assets. So again, Brooklyn Army Terminal,
Sure.
South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, Hunts Point, Kingsbridge Armory. And then there are capital projects that we do on behalf of the city. This process of allocating capital projects to EDC that are non-EDC projects really started under the Bloomberg administration and ramped up during de Blasio and have continued. Some of the reason for that is that, again, we are not a city agency, and we are able to, through our contracting means and methods, get projects done faster. There's always a balance there for us because we have to grow our staff and pay for that to manage those projects. But there are a lot of super important projects that come out of that are economic development adjacent. So I would argue, having new and modern hospitals in a community has a positive economic impact. Another great example are our greenways, where EDC executes and builds a lot of the greenways. The most recent and most expensive one was the East Midtown Greenway, which is literally built out into the FDR.
And how does the EDC work with OMB on changes to the capital commitment plan?
We are in daily contact with OMB on our capital plan, both to move projects quickly to a CP, a certificate to proceed, to constantly reevaluate whether we need the money in the current fiscal year or the next fiscal year. So we are very closely working with OMB, and I would say we have a strong partnership. There is always give and take there, as they need to protect the public purse, and we want to push economic development projects as aggressively as possible.
Great. And then just on, so we know EDC has several tools in its kit to address its economic development goals, including capital funding and discretionary tax breaks. Both of these tools have an impact on the city's budget, and so I'd like to understand it a bit more on how EDC approaches the process of thinking which tools to use and when. So how does EDC decide which form of financial assistance, whether it's tax incentives or capital assistance, is the more appropriate for a given project?
Typically, a project that is looking for tax assistance is not in need of capital, but has a but-for argument. They have to show that but for this tax incentive, the project wouldn't have moved forward. They also are really important for our strategic initiatives. So you mentioned a few in your introduction around battery storage as an example. We've done a significant number of battery storage projects. You also mentioned the MCOR projects, where we're providing a long-term tax incentive to have a complete gut renovation of non-performing commercial office. In all the cases, there has to be the but-for argument, and you have to be able to demonstrate that the leverage, so the tax break that you give, has a multiple in terms of economic return for the city. So in the case of the MCOR projects, the leverage is 5 to 1, so close to $100 million of tax exemption, providing over $550 million of positive tax impacts over the 20 years.
Okay, and how does EDC compare the cost between these two different sources of assistance?
Again, I would say they're a little bit of apples and oranges.
Okay.
We can use both on a specific project. but typically they're not used. I'll give you an example where both are being used, and it's at the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, where Equinor is master leasing, what has been a decrepit former maritime space that's just looked like an empty parking lot for 50 years. And we are putting in close to $80 million of base capital work that we would have had to do for any tenant in order to be able to use it for industrial maritime, which is core mission for us. In addition, the Equinor has applied and secured certain sales tax exemptions on equipment investment. And as you know from following the offshore wind industry, it has been severely negatively impacted by the explosion of inflation in recent years, with offshore wind developers like Ørsted pulling out of New Jersey entirely. So making sure that the economics worked for Equinor to go forward involved giving that additional IDA tax breaks. But typically they are not used on the same project.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll now turn over to councilmember questions. I have Councilmember Brewer up first.
I thought you said something. Thank you very much, and I appreciate all that EDC is doing. I really do. I do want to also thank you for the life science internships with Rich Robbins and Upper West Strategies, because I think they make a big difference, and you have been really cooperative with them, so I thank you. So the helicopters, I got 40 years on helicopters. So my question is, I know 25, 26, maybe we'll have the electric, and I appreciate being invited to the viewing of those amazing aircraft. But what happens this summer? What happens in between now and then? Is there an RFP for a fossil fuel helicopter? What's gonna happen? Because we're gonna get so many complaints, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So there's been an RFP out, and we have gotten responses. We have not yet selected an operator going forward. Who would operate the heliport in that period?
That's what I'm asking.
In between, call it this summer and when the FAA approves the EV tolls. We are excited that we have numerous respondents who are equally excited to embrace the eVTOL industry.
No, but that's not until whenever.
That's not until the FAA approves. We hope in 25.
Okay.
So in that interim period, it will continue to operate with the suite of offerings that it has today.
So
I
just
know
continuations of current contracts? I didn't know there would be a new RFP.
it'll be a new contract with a similar set of uses that includes commercial use, it includes medical use, it includes tourism use. And then that will pivot to the use of EV tolls the minute those are available.
Okay, so, and there's no way of eliminating the tourism from that scenario?
There's not.
Okay, I'm just saying it's going to be an ongoing issue.
I understand.
Okay. Next is, in terms of the west side heliport, I know you said it's not yours, but my understanding, having been very involved with Hudson River Park and still on the Friends aspect of it, that it is half state and half city. And that if we were to say to the state and to the city, and if there was agreement, what I would like to see, because I do know that you need press and you need emergency, something, that we would put how we paid for is a different story, but some kind of a barge in the river, working with DEC, I know all the issues, that would then take care of whatever those needs are, but not have the rest of the heliport there. So it's not the decision of the Hudson River Park Trust. They're willing to get rid of 1.7. They already have it budgeted to get rid of that money from the heliport, but they need the state and the city. Have you had any conversations with the state on that issue?
I have not, but I'd be happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, because that's something that could go, and that would save a lot of 311 calls. The other question I have is, to the credit of you and the mayor, thousands of new jobs, but many of them this is such an expensive city, and so many of them are $55,000 or less. What are you doing as an economic development engine? Not an easy question, to try to get more jobs at the higher level with people from CUNY and being a diverse workforce. Again, hard agenda.
It's a tough question, and as you'll see on the opening letter I have in the snapshot, highlighting the fact that while unemployment's come down, the disparities are still unacceptably high. 3 times black employment to white employment as the most stark example. And yes, jobs have come back, but wages are not high enough for so many people to live in New York. So the answer to that is, as you know, is multi-pronged. I'm really proud of the fact that EDC kind of has pivoted back in many ways to core mission under this mayor, which is driving job creation. We still do some housing, but under the prior administration, housing was much more of the focus, candidly, at EDC. But I will say that, to me, now having been in this seat for 2 years, if we don't fix the housing problem, you can forget about everything else. So I'm glad there's a lot more attention on that, but we have to build a lot more supply for all income levels. So that's number one. Number two is, how do we provide access to higher wage, higher growth sectors? And that is core mission for us. We are not the city's workforce development organization, but we are investing tenfold what was done under prior administrations, and that it's so important that we have the cash flow every year, that programs like Civic Hall, which are doing exactly what you're talking about, programs like we will run, like the Life Sciences program, programs like BioBus, that create the inspiration and the technical skill set for folks who come from lower income households to get into those life sciences, tech, AI adjacent, green economy jobs. That is the key thing to measure us on going forward. Too much of the recovery has been in lower wage jobs, and there's this disconnect because a lot of those are in home health care. And they pay less, surprisingly to me, I did not know this at the time, but less than a lot of retail jobs did, that we haven't gotten back all of.
Okay. When we announce wonderful number of new jobs, which is great, I think, and it's not you, it's the mayor, we should say we're still aiming toward blah, 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 because it sounds great, but it's not as great as it sounds, because you can't live in New York City for $40,000 a year.
100%.
Okay. The other thing I want to say is the Garment Center. I may be the only person who cares about it. But what is, as the mayor lays out whatever we're doing in terms of Midtown zoning, are you caring about who cares about the Garment Center that's there, if anybody?
The fashion industry and the Garment Center remains an important sector for us.
That's rhetorical.
About $130 million a year of economic impact that comes out of it. I think that's down slightly, so you don't see the same projected growth of things like life sciences or green economy or tech more broadly, but it is an important sector. And EDC spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on
Manhattan or the other boroughs? I don't care about the other boroughs. You know how I am. So what about the Manhattan? What about the Manhattan Garment Center?
Tell us about the other boroughs. I care about the other boroughs.
I know, I'm just saying, somebody has to care about.
A lot of them are for awards to manufacturers that are both in Manhattan and elsewhere in the form of grants. We just met yesterday, actually, with the New York City Partnership that's studying this issue to talk about how we could create more of a hub for the fashion industry to incubate and accelerate, diverse entrepreneurs in the space, and that would be Manhattan.
Can you get back to us, to the committee, about what we're doing with the Manhattan Garment Center to make sure that they survive? If you don't have some kind of an abatement for the buildings that they're in, at one point we had $20 million, which I think we didn't have enough to buy a building, et cetera. But, that's a different group than in the other boroughs. They're much highly skilled. I think you know that.
Happy to do that.
Okay, and South Street Seaport, in terms of what's that's still in litigation, I assume. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brewer. I'd like to call on Councilmember Riley, followed by Aviles.
Thank you. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Just have a few questions. Whatever we can't touch on today, I'll just email and you can just get me back the answers. First, picking up on MWBE. So from 2023 to 2024, the MWBE award rate dropped by 5%. Just want to know what EDC is doing to work and ensure that the award rate for MWBE increases, and is there a specific goal for FY25?
Yeah, our goal is to exceed 30% in award and also in allocation, and typically we have been reaching that. Sometimes it depends on when in the year you're measuring the disbursement of the funds. So if you're looking at the first 4 months of the year, you may see a higher award rate over the rest of the year. But that's something that we care a lot about, and typically we outperform other city agencies in our disbursement rate. And we're proud of that, but we're also mindful that we've got to keep it up and improve it. We're also mindful of the fact that we've got to continue to create a pipeline of MWBE contractors that are startup and really small, and we do that through our Construct NYC program and our Offshore Wind Pathways program. Offshore Wind Pathways is particularly interesting because there is a real dearth of MWBEs that do waterfront work, pier work, and that's an area where there's going to be, between resiliency work and offshore wind, a lot of jobs coming down the pike.
Thank you. The cannabis industry, surprised Councilmember Brewer didn't touch on this because she's a champion for this. But the pegs to EDC for the cannabis industry went from $250,000 to $75,000 FY25. While New York City deals with the quality of life concerns raised by the unlicensed shops and losing out on millions of dollars in taxes and revenues, why was this funded included in the PEG?
I'm going to get back to you on that smaller number. The big number that's the most important one for us is $8 million, which we have put out for bid for a third party to use as leverage to take a riskier loan position with a lot of the startups that are getting approved by the state. So they're getting state support, as you know, but it often takes them a long time to actually get in a store and operating. So we're providing additional low interest, low return funding through that $8 million, which we hope will leverage up to $30 million through a third party. We have gone through a competitive process for that third party, and we're now negotiating with our choice to operate that program, and we hope we'll be able to announce that in the coming weeks. So we're still very committed to supporting this industry.
Thank you. Pharmacy shortage. Pharmacies are closing throughout all communities, Walgreens, Rite Aids, Target locations. Are there any steps that EDC is taking to ensure pharmacies are able to sufficiently operate and strive in communities of color?
I will need to get back to you on that question. That is much more in small business services sort of wheelhouse, but I'm happy to talk to Kevin Kim about that and loop back with you.
Thank you. Understand the importance, just have two more questions, Chair. Understand the importance of a good credit score to raise funds or secure loans that might be needed to get a new business off the ground. What has EDC done to ensure members of marginalized communities have access to potential capital to start in this industry?
Yeah, appreciate that question. So on the MWBE, we work closely with SBS on an insurance fund. Often securing insurance is very difficult for smaller firms, so we provide assistance there. We're really proud that we launched Catalyst NYC, which is a $40 million impact fund, where we're going to disperse that $40 million with 10 to 15 different investment groups. The investment groups have to meet 2 of 3 criteria. They have to be New York City focused, they have to be focused on diverse entrepreneurs, and they have to be focused on the sectors that we care about, high growth, high wage sectors. Those are 2 of the key programs that we have. We also have a program called Founder Fellows, where we've now designated over 250 Founder Fellows over the last 3 years. Overwhelmingly, they are BIPOC, and they are entrepreneurs who want to start a business. Typically, it's in one of the sectors that we're focused on, and we invest in them through 4 different technical service providers that help them get off the ground, access VC funding, help them with real estate, help them with their HR needs. And so we're really proud of that group. And I mentioned from the 23 graduates where we had 100 founder fellows, you know, they've hired 80 people already just in the couple of months since they graduated and raised over $100 million of financing. Small in the grand scheme of things, but really important in terms of these companies getting their first steps out of the box.
Thank you, Commissioner. And last question. Last year, EDC launched the Cyber NYC internship program, which facilitates paid internships, building a talent pipeline for growing sectors in technology. How many applicants, how many participants, and internship ongoing? How has it been advertised?
So the Life Science NYC program, which is the biggest of our internship programs, we now have over 700 participants. Our primary marketing is around CUNY students, and over 50% of the participants have been CUNY students. And we're really pleased, Councilmember Brewer mentioned the group that works with us on that, that over 50% of those who have the internship get an extended internship or get a job as a result. I would say internships is something that we want to grow substantially in the years ahead, and I hope you'll keep pressing us on it.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Aviles.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, this is weird. I can't listen to my voice double. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. We are going to start with my favorite question of the day. Is the completion of the mobile JIB anticipated this fiscal year in the fourth quarter of 2024 that we talked about?
It is anticipated, and I just want to use that word because all things are relative to supply chain. It's not a question of money. We have the money. It's being built, but that extension, that mobile JIB is absolutely critical, as you well know, to connect those larger ships to shore power. So let me just say publicly what I said privately, we really appreciate your advocacy on this. Your patience, even when you're not patient, we appreciate you pushing us because you always do it, informed by both substance and your passion for the community, and this is something we care a lot about.
Thank you. We'll keep asking the question, making sure it's a #1 priority to get it fixed and online. In terms of one thing we talk a lot about is the aging infrastructure that we're dealing with, particularly in the waterfront, right? The Brooklyn Meat Market, the crumbling piers, the state of Atlantic Basin. Can you tell us what capital allocations have been made, particularly, from the meat market to Atlantic Basin?
Yeah, appreciate the question. I'm going to get back to you with a detailed memo on it, but I will say this. Even though I've spent a lot of time in Sunset Park over the last 15 years, I did not know the meat market that well, and I've been really pleasantly surprised at the quality of the business there and the sort of local employment resource hub that it is. It does need substantial work, as you can see when you drive in. The perimeter is in bad shape. Mm-hmm. So we're currently doing a master planning effort there that will result in a capital ask to OMB for substantial upgrade. Our intention is to both sustain and grow that market in the future. At the Atlantic Basin, our priority project there, as you know, has been the home port for our ferry service. There's also Pier 11, which is a very significant warehouse space. We have had an RFP out for that and received responses. I think we want to be mindful that what we do there is part of a smart overall plan for the Red Hook piers, and as we've discussed, that's something that the city really wants to see.
So in terms of the capital investment into the Blue Highways, Chair, is that okay? I have 2 more questions. Actually, I have 100 questions, but in terms of the investments into the Blue Highway, you mentioned the 6, I'll call them ports. I did not realize Red Hook is one of the 6 named ports that will be receiving investment around the service.
We're just checking. I think it is, but we'll confirm in a minute.
Because I didn't think it was, because I didn't see it in earlier, and I wanted to know why our waterfront isn't part of that, particularly because we know, given the amount of last mile facilities that we have in the district, how this could not be part of the network is a little befuddling to me. So I'd love to get that confirmed.
Yeah,
and
I'll
have a
get back to you with a detailed answer on that. Yep.
Okay. So in terms of, we know that, let's say in Coney Island, there's a revenue sharing agreement, and we've heard in other places that there are also revenue sharing agreements between EDC and the local surrounding community members. I'd love to know if you could provide with us the extent of revenue sharing commitments that EDC has made with local communities wherever you may have very large projects that would include, basically the terms of that agreement and what that looks like.
Are you, in Coney Island, are you referring to the arcade and Dino's Wonder Wheel?
I'm referring
and-
to, I can't remember the terminologies, but essentially there is a determined percentage allocation that goes into the surrounding parks in Coney Island. That is an agreement between EDC. It might be parks at this point.
It is with parks, yes,
And
because it's
so-
on parks land and we manage the project
Right.
for them.
So I know you see where I'm going with the footprint that EDC has both in Sunset Park and Red Hook, and the constant conversation about local investment and decision-making around assets. We would like to pursue very clear, number one, metrics about what the local outputs are, and also the goals, quite frankly, for EDC, but also what kind of revenue sharing engagements we should have where we see a direct revenue investment in the local community, which we have quite frankly been left out of. And often what we see is there may be, like in the case of Equinor, where excuse me, I'm going to wrap this up, where there is an allocation of the rental income that will go to that community fund. I think what I am asking is we would like to see EDC invest more, not just related to the tenants that are there, but directly invest in the surrounding community in concrete ways that we can invest in the ecosystem. So more to come on that, but I would like to still know what other revenue sharing agreements EDC has with other communities across New York
Yeah,
City.
I'm not aware of any, I will get back to you. I'm not aware of any with communities per se, where there's a situation like with parks, where
Right.
there's revenue sharing. Happy to get back to you on that. And I will just say, Equinor, I think, set a good standard. I think despite some of the complicated conversations we've had on cruise, we are very proud of the new contracts that we negotiated, where there is a pot that will go to the community, and we look forward to working with you on how that will be dispersed. I should also say, appreciate working with both you and Councilmember Botcher on the shore power bill.
Yeah, and so just for clarity, I think it is the responsibility of the companies that come into communities to share and be neighbors. But what I'm directly asking is EDC is generating revenues, and in our case, on city-owned assets, significant city-owned assets within our communities, without directly actually investing in the surrounding communities. And so what we are asking for is direct investment from EDC in us in direct ways, not in a workforce program that's going to produce a job in 20 years. So I'd love to talk to you more about that. And I want to thank your team. We've had a ton of meetings, community meetings, and I just want to say thank you for your grace and working with us, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Councilmember Botcher?
Hi. A lot of people don't know that electric helicopters and electric air taxis are on the way. This technology, it's under development, and I keep being told that it's coming relatively soon. There was a test flight at the downtown heliport of an electric air taxi back in November. Your agency said that you were working with the Port Authority on bringing this to New York. When can New Yorkers expect, in your best guess, to see electric helicopters in the air rather than having to listen to the gas-fueled helicopters, especially when the Delacorte Theater reopens next summer? When can we expect to see it? Have you been approached by lots of these companies who are developing electric choppers, and what next steps are you pursuing to get this to New York as soon as possible?
Yeah, appreciate the question. Appreciate concerns about noise pollution, 100%. A real issue in terms of quality of life. We think that in part the reason this is being discussed so much is that we have moved the ball forward and did that demonstration that you're referring to and required in the current RFP, where we have multiple respondents that have come in, required any respondent for that downtown Manhattan heliport to put in place the infrastructure that will allow for eVTOLs to plug in the minute the FAA has approved them. It's really great also to hear that the industry is out there talking to so many people now about the opportunity in New York City. I said in the next 24 months, I am hopeful to be proven wrong and that the approval happens in 2025, which would mean, a year away. But we are fully committed to implementing this new technology at the downtown Manhattan heliport, and by the way, also at 34th Street, the other Manhattan heliport that we control.
You're in the process of moving forward with electrifying the Manhattan Cruise Terminal in Hudson River Park. What will the process look like for electrifying the heliport in Hudson River Park?
Well, I think the responses we get back on the Manhattan heliport will be very informative of what might be deployed on the west side. Again, we don't control that heliport, but I think this will be really important learnings for all of us, including the state and the Hudson River Park Trust, in terms of how they might go forward with the west side heliport. The Manhattan Cruise Terminal is a monster. We are currently doing a feasibility study, which is essentially a plan for how we implement it, and we expect to have the results of that soon, and then be able to work with the city to identify the capital to invest there.
Any word from Con Ed on the capacity? Will a new substation be needed or not for the Manhattan?
Yeah, we're in active conversations with Con Ed on that point. We don't have a full outcome yet, but we hope to soon.
Great. Any other colleagues have questions? No? Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'd like to jump into some MCOR focused questions. This past year, EDC announced the first 2 projects under the new MCOR program. This is an important effort to help revitalize the city's commercial office stock and hopefully position the city's future growth. However, considering the tight fiscal outlook, we need to make sure that we're doing this as effectively and efficiently as possible. I'd like to take a closer look at one of the MCOR projects to understand how this project works, 850 3rd Avenue. IDA's cost-benefit analysis estimates that the redevelopment of this 600,000 square foot office building in Midtown East will result in 2,327 jobs and will generate nearly $600 million in direct and indirect city taxes. The cost of the city in foregone tax revenues is about $58 million. The analysis estimated the present value of the multi-year financial assistance to be $58 million, as I mentioned, and that the total cost of the work would be $62 million. That sounds like the city is effectively subsidizing about 93% of the renovation cost. Is that correct?
You receive those tax benefits over time, so there's
Okay.
a time cost of money. They have to come up with the financing on the front end. One of the reasons that this program exists is that there are multiple reasons, but one of the big reasons is banks are not lending right now for commercial office space. So, but for this tax program, that building would continue to sit vacant or mostly vacant. The only buildings we were considering for MCOR were south of 59th Street, built pre-2000, where the owner was willing to invest 75% of the assessed value in the building, so essentially a gut renovation, target the innovation sectors that we care about, bring important amenities, not just retail, but other services like childcare, both of which the developer in question at 830 3rd Avenue is doing, and then have a multiple in terms of positive tax revenue for the city in. So I'm not sure it's a fair analogy that there's a close proximity between the tax break and what the total capital cost is. They're going to have to fund the total capital cost up front with equity.
Okay.
So they are able to amortize that equity over a period of time because they have lower taxes on the building, and they have expected rents that they'll receive. What we've seen also over and over again in the kind of new world we're living in post-COVID is that those office buildings that are succeeding the best are state-of-the-art. They're greened, they've got amenities. They're green not only in terms of the physical structure, meaning they're using heat pumps, they're meeting local law 97. Kudos to the city council for passing that important legislation. They've got green space, they've got plazas, they've got inviting, interactive retail. They've got culture, art, and they have services like childcare. So all of those things will happen at this building and would not have happened but for this tax break.
Okay. I appreciate that, thorough response. Again, using an example for me is how to contextualize a lot of these things, so I appreciate that response. Can you walk us through how you developed the estimate that the project will generate nearly $600 million in city taxes?
Yeah, so we have a economic research and policy team in-house at EDC that uses a number of economic models, RIMS analysis, and others. I'm not going to bore you or take the risk of getting each type of analysis that we use wrong, so be pleased to follow up with a detailed memo on that.
I would appreciate that. We can do it over coffee.
Great.
How does the $600 million estimate account for the likelihood that some portion of those jobs are going to be relocations of existing jobs from other office buildings in the city? And what portion of those jobs did you assume would only exist because of this investment?
It's a good question. I will get back to you in that in the memo.
Yeah, we'll make sure to follow up to send those. How many more MCOR projects would you expect the city to see over the next several years?
Yeah, what we've publicly talked about is, and what the IDA board, more importantly, has approved is up to 10 million square feet of buildings. So the first two buildings combine to about 1 million square feet. So anywhere between 5 and 10 more buildings, I would expect.
Okay.
Again, I think it's really important to think about this in the broader context of, even in the city of New York, with our economic comeback moving nicely in the right direction, we have 100 million square feet of vacant space. Mm-hmm. We have a housing crisis. How do we strategically address that 100 million square feet of space? Is not one answer. So MCOR, is up to 1 million square feet. We had hoped by this time, frankly, that the legislative authority would have been in place to convert another 20 to 30 million square feet of office to residential. It doesn't fit for all offices. It just has to be certain building typologies. Can you imagine if 30 million square feet was in construction right now to convert to residential, given the housing crisis we have? That would be pretty fantastic. Mm-hmm. And then the other key strategy is this public realm piece. So, there is an expectation about the younger generation who is trying to be convinced of the benefits of coming back to the office, that they're coming back to a quality community that has green public space, that has these kind of building amenities. And why is that important? It's important because all of those people that are going up in the office building are supporting all the local small businesses that are at the base of those buildings. And that's hundreds of thousands of dollars of economic impact every day and thousands of jobs. And you know, that data that I cited at the beginning, 1 in 7 new businesses created in the last 12 months, you know, if you were to look at where those businesses were being created 2 years ago, they would be all in Brooklyn and Queens, some in the Bronx, almost none in Manhattan, because nobody was coming back to the office. Slowly, it's getting much better, and you see a lot more of those small business dots at the base of buildings in lower and midtown Manhattan.
That's great. Yeah, I'll go on record and say, please come back to the office. Most of IDA's recent financial assistance has been provided with the requirement that certain standards are met, such as job creation targets. If these standards are not met, then the agreements include, include clawback provisions to recapture some of the aid provided. What sorts of requirements are in place here, and would any of them trigger clawbacks of assistance in those if those requirements are not met?
The requirements are, we care a lot about the job creation, and we get annual reports. And in almost every case, we are far exceeding the jobs that were originally projected on these projects. Where the real penalties kick in, however, is if they don't build the project or they don't build to the specification that was required, and that's when we can have what's called a recapture. It is extremely difficult on the jobs piece to have those sort of clawbacks and be effective. That said, we do track this data very closely, and we do very well as it relates to jobs projected and jobs created.
Okay, great. And then I wanted to ask about measuring the success of these projects. Is it simply the renovation, or will you be tracking what jobs are located there and where are they coming from? How will you capture that information? Will it be made public? Are we doing a breakdown of like demographic, zip codes, things like that, of where the people are coming from that are getting the jobs, things of that sort?
I'm going to get back to you with a detailed memo on that. Typically in the information, we do ask where folks are coming from, but I'll follow up with more detail.
Okay, great. Thank you. More than half of the new investment projects in fiscal 2023 were for educational or social service-oriented projects. These are not the types of projects one traditional considers economic development. How do you evaluate the appropriateness of these investments as an economic development agency?
So there are two buckets to the IDA's work, the Industrial Development Authority, and then there's the Build New York Resource Corp.
Sure. So
Build New York is bond financing that typically is for schools and not-for-profits. And so that's where you see big awards like to the KIPP School that's investing hundreds of millions of dollars in the Kingsbridge area of the Bronx. And we've done many charters and private schools through that program in terms of financing. We have done some other not-for-profits like recreation centers and healthcare facilities in communities. So that's the not-for-profit side of the ledger. And then on the for-profit side of the ledger, it tends to be heavy in industrial projects and now very heavy in green infrastructure. So the Chippy project alone, which is the power line coming from upstate New York, bringing hydro and solar to New York City and basically allowing New York City as an entity to buy all green power. That is partially financed by IDAs in every county that the pipeline comes through, including New York City, and we had a big award to Chippy through the IDA. Battery storage is booming, and thank goodness to the council approving the first City of Yes zoning application from the administration. That is easier to cite with more clear regulations around it, and safety measures have improved dramatically around battery storage, and that is going to be so critical to us meeting our overall climate goals in the city. We would love to see more on the solar front, and we're trying to encourage those applications. As I mentioned, we've just done one recently on offshore wind, and we hope to see more of that.
Okay, and then just in terms of whether or not it's appropriate for us to be doing social service oriented or not as a pseudo agency, is that just you take what you get? Is that kind of the deal?
I mean, the Build Resource Corporation is something that's been in place for a very long time at EDC. It is something that is relied on by a lot of these not-for-profit institutions. Other than that, I have not dug into it a lot.
Okay, and are there metrics you include in these evaluations beyond economic impacts? If they are, what are they? Do you report on them?
Jobs we definitely report on, and private investment. And the leverage ratio on those IDA projects is outstanding.
Great. And one of the advantages to IDA's ability to provide tax breaks on a discretionary basis is that it allows EDC to pivot to create new tax incentive programs like MCOR when landscapes shift. Do you foresee any additional new tax incentive programs necessary to address the new economic conditions we're facing?
I think we're currently looking at, we're always looking at the IDA for ways to improve. So MCOR is a major new program that involved a lot of board analysis and input. There are other programs, and I'm not sure this is what you're referring to, that are as of right programs, so ICAP and REAP that, as you know, are created statutorily through the state. They come up every few years. They're going to come up again in '25. Those programs are always necessary to look at every time they come up and do analysis as to how should they be tweaked, reworked, are they really serving the goals that they were set out to. So we're currently working on that with the Department of Finance and other interested parties like the CBC and REBNY and others, and are eager to continue that conversation with the City Council as well.
Yeah, we would love that. I mean, my follow-up is going to be, are there any existing or older discretionary tax incentives that you think are no longer relevant or that the city may have facing challenges?
Not on the discretionary side. On the as-of-right side, REAP and ICAP are the two big ones. I will say, having spent 20 years, working on the Brooklyn waterfront, ICAP and REAP have both benefited a lot of projects, both there, and I know they've benefited a lot of projects in the Bronx and in Queens, so we have to be careful about how we tweak these things going forward.
Great. Sure.
So just along the lines of the IDA, we recently had a project, I think the project up in Red Hook around a waterfront, a movie studio. I'm just curious how the EDC, what your understanding is of the movie and film sector, as we see with Steiner, we have the Navy Yard, this new studio set. We're receiving a lot of kind of conflicting concern around it. So I'm curious if you could speak a little bit about the sector, and then would love to receive the information of the jobs that are in fact produced and the data points that you're collecting around them. This is another ongoing conversation we're having on all of them, particularly because it was intriguing to see this IDA funded, I think it was an IDA funded project already. It was.
Yep.
It's like 300 part-time jobs. That's it. That's all we get. So we would like some more information on what exactly that is. But I'm curious about this sector, where you see the opportunities and where there may be challenges.
Yeah. I mean, my experience was really driven a lot by my experience at the Navy Yard, where Steiner Studios became one of our key anchor tenants. The reason that you see always with movie studios, the part-time job thing, is that they essentially run like a hotel. So a production checks in, a production checks out. They use a box in there, they use the lighting, the grip, the equipment. So then the key question is, how are local folks accessing jobs and getting in that industry, and particularly in that union? And there are some really good programs out there, like BWI, Brooklyn Workforce Innovations, runs a tremendous pre-apprenticeship training program, both for production and for post-production, which is much more digital kind of experience. We are, as you know, we recently approved, or it was in the news last year, the first major movie studio in Manhattan on Pier 94 on the west side. And as you've heard, we are working through IDA. That approval that we just gave was the first step. They're going to be coming back. And a key part of our conversation with them, and delighted to continue it with you as well, is what can they do around local workforce pipeline to make sure that local folks have access to those jobs. In general, my feeling about the industry is that it's very, very important to the city's economy. There are a wild array of estimates of impact from very little to very, very high. Every few years, the state legislature has to reevaluate whether to keep the film tax credit in place. From my point of view on the ground, this has been phenomenally important to the city's economy, and we saw the negative impact of it when there was the strike. And, you know, our recovery trajectory that was going up sort of plateaued for a period of time, and a lot of that was the writer's strike, and now it's gone back up now that they're back to work.
So just one thing to note on the IDA in particular, when the notices came out, we saw they came out on March 7th to the public, and the instruction was, if you're interested in commenting on this, you must request the ability to do so 2 weeks prior to when we actually receive the notice. So there's a real problem with the communication stream there, because there was a lot of frustration that the notice was received after. Actually, let me correct the record. The 2 weeks prior was to get the actual information about the actual project. If you wanted to see it, you needed to request it 2 weeks prior to the hearing, and we got the hearing notice just like a week before it
Okay,
actually
that's
happened.
a good flag. I'll
So,
definitely look into that.
You know, public, I think.
By no means the intent, and there should be plenty of lead notice, so apologies.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that I just want to flag that, because there was a lot of interest in learning more about the project in the community, and a lot of frustration that it was kind of after the fact. So thank
Great.
you.
And just quickly, the team informed me of the answer to your question before. So the MARAD site on the Blue Highway is at 29th Street in Sunset Park. It's not at Red Hook. What was in the Blue Highway RFEI was a call out that respondents should look at Red Hook Terminal as a possible option to explore Blue Highway, along with Pier 92 on the west side and the MARAD sites and any other sites. I mean, there were scores of sites listed, but Red Hook was specifically called out in that.
29th Street is the SBMT, right? Is that just a line there?
29th Street is south of. Yep.
Thank you, Councilmember Aviles. Councilmember Brewer, you have a...
I just want to know what the current active head count is at EDC. Do you have vacancies? Are you able to fill them? Are you doing hybrid, which I think helps a little bit maintain some of your very professional staff?
Yeah, appreciate that question. I think we're at about 540. We have a relatively low vacancy, and we do operate on a hybrid structure. I would say, though, one of the, like you see often in government and government-adjacent entities, but folks work a lot more than 5 days a week.
I know. I mean, I think you were able to do hybrid even because you're not a city agency per se, even before the mayor said that we could go ahead and do hybrid.
We've always had a little bit more flexibility.
And that's why you're able to keep your staff. Thank you very much.
Gail, I just said people have to come into work. Just
I think
kidding,
they
y'all.
should do work, but 300,000 people need some flexibility.
No, for sure, for sure. Thank you so much. I have a couple of last bit of questions, and then I don't have anyone else lined up, so I will let y'all go. I just wanted to go really quickly back to the cost and benefits of heliports. I know we spoke a little bit about entertaining or always looking at the type of fee structure or the leasing structure and fees. Would EDC be willing to increase the fees for the companies operating on city lands at any point?
I would say that our goal, because it's how we're funded, is to increase, our fees, our rents, our lease structures everywhere we can, because otherwise there's no EDC.
And by charging low rents, is the city essentially subsidizing wealthier New Yorkers and tourists to use helicopters for travel and recreation?
I would say everywhere we can, our goal is to maximize return, because every dollar that we make gets reinvested in our work citywide. You always have to be careful with some of these, that you don't chase people off by driving rents too high. And obviously we do have incubators and accelerators and things like that that are way below market rents in order to meet other social impact goals.
That's great. I'm really interested in seeing more than $2 million annually in revenue for the city, if at all possible, so I'm glad to hear that. And then I just wanted to touch base on some specific capital projects. I know Councilmember Salamanca came in earlier but had to leave. The preliminary plan includes $30 million across the plan period for Hunts Point Produce Market project in fiscal year 24 to 28. This is unchanged from the fiscal 24 adopted plan. Can you provide us with any update on the redevelopment of the produce market? Is the project still on schedule? Are there any delays that may be affecting the project at all?
Yeah, we're working very closely with the food co-op right now on the design of a modern, state-of-the-art food produce center. If you visit it, you remark on what a great local employer it is today, how important it is to the food ecosystem, but how outrageously outdated it is as an industrial facility, with 1,000 fossil fuel trucks idling all day long and polluting the air in the South Bronx. So there is uniform agreement that there needs to be a new modern facility that's all electric. What is different than many efforts over the last 30 years to build a new food produce center is that the state, the city, and the federal government have all stepped up, totaling $394 million. We expect that the total project cost is going to be more like $600 or $650 million. So we're going to be working with a third-party private developer to finance the rest of that new building. Okay. And we're currently in negotiation with the co-op to make sure that they have a fair rent structure going forward, and that the kind of building that they want is the kind of building that gets delivered.
Great. And similarly, can you give any updates on Kingsbridge Armory and Willets Point?
Yeah, on Kingsbridge Armory, again, really blessed to have strong support from the state and the city there, $200 million that we were able to offer as part of an RFP. We received multiple responses. We're currently reviewing those and hope to have a decision by the end of this calendar year on who our partner will be moving forward. On Willets Point, that was the other one. Super excited about the progress there. Obviously, the council is moving that forward to hopefully what will be a final vote in the coming weeks. On the housing part, we broke ground on phase 1 around the end of the year, which is quite remarkable to see housing go up on top of what for 100 years had been a dump and then polluting chop shops. And so that is underway, phase 1. What the zoning allows is for phase 2 to take the 100% affordable new district up to 2,500 units and also facilitate the new all-electric, all privately financed soccer stadium. And so the goal is that that soccer stadium would get in construction in 2025 and be completed by 2027, and phase 2 of the housing shortly thereafter.
Great. Well, I don't have any other additional questions. Councilmember Aviles has one.
One.
Has one question.
Absolutely, just one question. On the offshore wind project, we know, as you mentioned earlier, certainly with inflation, there were a lot of headwinds. So we're curious that the original allocation for 110 million was between 24 and 28, and it's been now moved to schedule to 29 to 2033. So curious how this movement of the monies to much later years is going to be impacting kind of overall completion goals and just project in general.
That is not my understanding, so let me check those numbers and get back to you. Obviously, the work that has to be done through city dollars is sort of fundamental to the base infrastructure.
Right.
And, you know, it is a multi-year construction project, but as I think you know, Equinor is hoping to break ground in the coming weeks. So I think all these things are coming together, but I will get back to you on the exact years.
Okay, we can compare what we got info from. Thank you.
I'll also include it in my follow-up. So thank you, Councilmember Aviles. Thank you, folks, for coming and your testimony and answering all of our great questions. Looking forward to working together in the future. You are now dismissed and relieved.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Well, now we'll get to the public. First panel is Paula Siegel from Take Root Justice and Gregory Morris.
What? I know. They were on my desk. They're gonna die over the weekend. So. Good afternoon, Committee Chair Farias and members of the committee. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for staying on a Friday afternoon. My name is Paula Siegel. I am testifying today as Senior Staff Attorney in Take Root Justice's Equitable Neighborhoods Unit. As many council members know, we work with organizations that are grassroots and neighborhood-based to make sure that longtime New Yorkers don't get pushed out of the city in the name of progress. And significant to the budget conversation, we are a member to the New York City Community Land Initiative, an alliance of grassroots organizations that are moving forward a robust community land trust movement in the city. Take Root has been receiving City Council discretionary funding through the citywide Community Land Trust Initiative since the initiative was launched by the Council in fiscal year 20. We support the growing CLT movement for affordable community-controlled housing, commercial, and community spaces through legal services for community land trust members of the initiative and other groups exploring the CLT model. We thank the Council for its vital support and urge you to increase funding for the citywide initiative to $3 million in the fiscal 25 budget. That would be doubling the amount of the initiative from last year, and it will be an investment that pays off. With this investment, we will be able to add groups to the initiative, which is crucial. I'm personally working with a group that is forming a community land trust out of the Ravenswood houses, all led by public housing residents and focused on a nearby former sanitation department site that they hope to turn into an engine of economic activity for residents of Ravenswood houses and their neighbors. And I really want to be able to see them have a staff person and really do that work in a committed way. They've been fully volunteer for 4 years since the pandemic started, and it's really time to invest in that leadership. That's just one example. I'm not really reading from my script. The other two things I just wanted to point out is we do need, in addition to the expense funding, capital allocations for these projects, and just making sure that, especially as community organizations are taking over properties that the city has disinvested from, they have the support they need to bring those properties back online. And then finally, just a reminder that the majority of this council has committed to not bringing back the lien sale as a debt collection instrument, and we are standing by. We actually had a great meeting, with a number of City Council Central staff earlier this week to help redesign the system so it leads to more permanently affordable, community-controlled real estate. And thank you for the indulgence.
Thank you so much. Whenever you're ready, Greg.
Good afternoon. You can tell it's a Friday. The public hearing session started exactly on time. So impressive. It hasn't been like that in other committees. My name is Greg Morris. I'm the CEO of the New York City Employment and Training Coalition, representing 220 organizations across the city focused on job readiness and training. I was listening to this is the most important committee. Tech is the other critical committee, I think, because those are the foundation of workforce readiness. In terms of the folks that our coalition members work with, it is primarily, when you look at the numbers, it's women, it's public housing residents, it's immigrants, it's justice-involved individuals as well. So I just want to highlight that. But as I was listening to the testimony, this hearing I think is always fascinating and interesting and valuable. The work of EDC is essential to the city's success, but it's the linkage between economic development and workforce development, or workforce development and economic development, that ensures that there is actual equity that leads to growth and development and self-sufficiency. So every time in this presentation that Andrew makes, there's reference to jobs. And it's our coalition that's responsible for thinking about how it is, whether it's tech, life sciences, whether it's construction, infrastructure, regardless of whether it's Kingsbridge or East Harlem or the North Shore of Staten Island. We want to make sure that those jobs are available to local job seekers. I just want you to be aware. I've gone to every committee hearing and said the same thing, which is there is no specific entity within the city council that's tracking what workforce development looks like in the city. Our administration, this administration talks about making investment. We need to track it. We need to measure it. I appreciated the council speakers' comments about metrics and tracking success of agencies. We need to do that. That has value. I also think the prospect of determining whatever legislative items come to the table, how it is that it impacts economic equity and justice matters. And then, of course, we need to see the ongoing investment in job training and readiness, whether it's our new arrivals who have not seen the resources and supports from the city to ensure that they are getting pathways to contextualize learning experiences or job training, or whether it's our older adults who certainly need pathways to second act careers, young adults, public housing residents, et cetera. You know the work of this coalition, and I just want to express my appreciation to you, Majority Leader, for your efforts and your commitment. I want to express my appreciation to the committee and the council member. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share this with you, and I hope that you continue to hold up workforce development and its connectivity to economic development, because it's hard to find that conversation happening where we need it to, which is everywhere.
I appreciate your comments and the work that we get to do together, so thank you. We will, Councilor Raviles and I will receive all the thank yous for the rest of the members who are not present. Thank you so much. And I also love hearing that my committee is one of the most important committees. Appreciate that. We'll move to our virtual testimony. You folks are dismissed. Thank you.
Okay, I will now start calling members of the public that are on Zoom. The first individual is Brian Cullen from Greenwich House.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. First thing I will say is thank you, Chair Farias and the Economic Development Committee, for the time to share my thoughts and experience with you guys today. My name is Brian Colon. I am the Director of Workforce Services at Greenwich House, which is a 122-year-old settlement house in Greenwich Village that provides a wide variety of services across sectors, including behavioral health services, workforce and skills building services, older adult services, and supports for people experiencing substance abuse disorder. Greenwich House is also part of the New York City Employment and Training Coalition, which, as you guys know, is the largest city-based workforce development association in the country. NYCETC serves as the industry's voice for more than 220 workforce development providers in New York City, who are counted on to provide job training to more than 500,000 New Yorkers each year, primarily individuals who live in under-resources and underserved neighborhoods. I speak to you today as someone who's been employed for 20 plus years in the workforce training space. I urge you all, if you can, to allocate resources where they'll have the most impact in programs designed to assist those who have been historically marginalized. I'm referring to our disconnected youth, individuals grappling with behavioral health challenges, those with backgrounds in the criminal justice system, older adults, and others facing substantial barriers to employment. And here are the reasons why we think targeted funding for these populations are paramount. For one, disconnected youth also recognizes opportunity youth are young individuals, the ages of 16 and 24, who are neither engaged in education nor employment. These individuals face heightened risk of prolonged unemployment and economic instability. And by investing in tailored workforce services and wraparound services as well that they need to succeed, we can provide them with the necessary skills and supports for them.
Time has expired.
We'll provide them with the necessary supports for their successful reentry into the job market. Behavioral health populations, individuals grappling with mental health and substance abuse issues often face pervasive workplace stigma and discrimination, which can impede their ability to secure and maintain employment. However, it's crucial to recognize that the appropriate trainings and proper social emotional supports these individuals need can help them and make a significant contribution into the workforce. As some of us know, 1 in 4 New Yorkers are managing a behavioral health condition.
So don't mean to cut you off, but you have to wrap in the next 15 seconds, and please make sure you submit whatever you're reading from to us so we can get your full testimony, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Last but not least, I'd say former incarcerated individuals with proper training and proper supports. The recidivism rate is a lot less, and the older adults, which is a population that we are near and dear to, and helping them kind of stay within the workforce and upskilling them to make sure that they have a competitive opportunity. Just by allocating funding towards these high-need populations, we can amplify impact and workforce development initiatives, guaranteeing equitable access to opportunities for all New Yorkers, and most importantly, to help small and large employers with their single greatest asset and need a well-prepared training workforce. Thank you for your time today. My name is Brian Colon from the Greenwich House.
Thank you so much for your testimony today.
The next member of the public on Zoom is going to be Malat Sayoum.
May begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and distinguished members of the New York City Council Committee on Economic Development. My name is Malat Sayoum, and I'm the Director of Political Affairs and Strategic Partnerships at the New York City Network of Worker-Owned Cooperatives, also known as NCNOC. We are the local trade association representing worker cooperative businesses and democratic workplaces in New York City metropolitan area. I'm here alongside my colleagues from the Center for Family Life and our advocacy council members representing 13 other organizations that make up the Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative, asking New York City Council to continue supporting the expansion of worker ownership in next year's budget and firmly into the future. Since the inception of the initiative, we've created over 197 new cooperative businesses and over 1,200 new jobs that are not only providing higher hourly wages, but also continuing to build wealth and assets for individuals who are overwhelmingly BIPOC women and immigrants. We have seen firsthand how the initiative has served to bolster our sector, strengthening existing cooperative businesses and creating new ones, which are overwhelmingly immigrant and women-owned, as shared. The initiative partners have collectively worked to create a comprehensive ecosystem of support for cooperative businesses that not only ensures the creation of new cooperatives in low-income areas, but also the technical assistance needed to sustain businesses and create jobs, all while education, outreach needed for communities and interested entrepreneurship and allied organizations. We ask that City Council can enhance our funding to $4.9 million in order for our initiative to double down on the essential long-term economic recovery of cooperative businesses that we need to claw ourselves out of the current crisis. And we thank the City Council for the opportunity to testify, and we hope that you consider our budget priorities and recommendations during this year's budget negotiation process. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
The next member of the public will be Jessica Walker.
Hi, I'm Jessica Walker. I'm the president of the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. The vast majority of our members are small businesses here in the city. And today I wanted to highlight a program that has been funded through the city budget in recent years. It's called the Small Business Resource Network. It's a citywide initiative that allows us to have staff to go out door to door to small businesses throughout the city, all 5 boroughs, and try to provide resources, connections to financing. During the height of the pandemic, we actually sat down and helped some of these business owners apply for PPP. It really is a hands-on intensive program. I should mention that our chamber also partners with the other chambers in the other boroughs. So like I said, it is a citywide program. We have already reached, since inception, October 2020, since then, nearly 50,000 businesses throughout the city. I'm happy to say that the vast majority of businesses helped, 76% have been MWBEs. So it just shows that we really are reaching into every community. The vast majority of businesses we've helped have had 4 or fewer employees. So again, the impact has been remarkable. I'm bringing it to this committee because we are seeking a full restoration of $2 million in the city budget. $500,000 is a city council discretionary grant, but $1.5 million actually flows through EDC and then is administered by SPS. The budget line is called EDC Business Resource Center. So we're seeking a restoration of that. Happy to answer any questions, but again, it's a fantastic program and it really has made an impact for small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next on Zoom is April Watkins.
You may begin.
Yes, we're trying to get on camera. Here we go. Good afternoon. My name is April Watkins, and I'm the Chief Program Officer of Path to Jobs. I'm kind of a sister agency from a bigger organization called Alliance for Positive Change, who has been providing services for the underserved population for over 30 years. Prior to that, I worked at GMHC for 19 years, working in the same workforce development type of situation, where we provide job readiness, career coaching, retention services, and more importantly, employment. What's troubling about the services and stuff that we provide is that we don't have enough money to provide much more needed services. I have placed in my 25-year career maybe over 1,000 individuals, most of them with justice-informed, issues, mostly people who have substance use disorders, some mental health. Path to Jobs is a new organization. We're young. We've only been around for a little less than a year, and we've already placed 60 individuals in gainful employment. And 2 individuals we placed the first month that we were actually operational, and they are still working and moving towards their career goals. I want to highlight a story of a gentleman named Charles, who had just came home from prison and had been working in different places and trying to get connected to community organizations to try to better himself. He took several trainings because he wanted to be part of, the public health and substance use community where he can give back with his lived experience. And it was very fortunate that we met Mr. Liggins, because we actually found him a job at a place who hired him on the spot because he's just a humble, beautiful human being. And on his second day of work, they called him into HR and said, "I'm sorry, we have to rescind this offer," because his background check came in and said that he had one, which I had never heard in my history of working in all these years and working with people getting jobs, that you were hired before your background check.
Your time has expired.
You can take the last minute to wrap.
Okay, Mr. Liggins is still working and being sought out for a position that will make him $60,000 because of his public health certificate and because Path to Jobs have helped and supported him through all of his issues and barriers to employment. And that's what we do every day. We do a little extra, and we retain people in jobs, and we support them after we get them a job. Thank you.
Next witness is David Nager.
You may begin.
Dear members of the Committee on Economic Development, my name is David Nager. I am the at the Alliance for Positive Change, a long-established legacy AIDS provider and all-around welcoming community of transformation and opportunity. Councilmember Boxer has seen Alliance's work in action and has been a big ally. Thank you, Council Member. I am also the Board Vice Chair of Path to Jobs, a workforce development, career readiness, and job placement organization. I'm here to speak in favor of increased funding for workforce development to low-income New Yorkers, so low-income New Yorkers have career opportunities. Since 1990, Alliance has been helping people achieve better health outcomes. A key program of ours is an 8-week career readiness program we call Peer Recovery Education Program, which prepares people to become community health workers at Alliance and other health providers. Mostly, the people who participate in this program may have no formal education and are facing serious health challenges, and we prepare them for careers in public health. I support any program that enables people with chronic conditions to build careers in any industry. Let me close by explaining why helping people make a career path in public health is so urgent right now. Over the course of the pandemic, economic inequality grew, especially in New York City, and serious health conditions worsened. Not just COVID-19, but new HIV and hepatitis C diagnosis and overdose deaths too. To me, this proved that we never had enough medical professionals or community health workers. I think that's pretty obvious. So I'm here to ask for more investments in and job opportunities for community health workers. For over 30 years, Alliance has helped literally thousands of people facing economic and health challenges transition from public entitlements and rejoin the workforce as community health workers. We took our decades of experience to create Path to Jobs, an organization that specializes in job readiness training and supportive employment.
Your time has expired. If you can wrap up in the next 15 to 20 seconds.
Yes, I urge the EDC to explore funding for agencies that help people find careers in community health care, and that this committee recommend greater support for workforce development resources that take a holistic approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And our last witness on Zoom is Catherine Mersick.
You may begin.
Thank you. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to try to say it fast. Thank you for the opportunity to testify online today. My name is Catherine Mersick, and I'm a worker owner at Samankaya Yoga Back Care and Scoliosis Collective. We're a member of the New York City Network of Worker Cooperatives, which is a partner of the Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative. And your support of our community of democratically run businesses helps to protect and create jobs for women, immigrant workers, and communities of color across the 5 boroughs and in a wide array of industries. I'm testifying today to urge you to help our city with a just recovery by continuing to support the great work of WCBDI, enhancing their funding to $4.9 million, and to also support commercial rent stabilization to protect New York City's workers and small businesses from displacement. My co-op, Samankaya, is a lovely little studio in Chelsea, specializing in therapeutic yoga for back care. My 19 other worker owners and I have been democratically running the space together in the same space for the last 9 years. To make yoga accessible to all ages and abilities, we use specialized rope walls and a variety of props, but because of our very specific needs, we had a lot to borrow in startup costs that we're still paying back. We are so grateful that our business survived the worst of the pandemic, but we're still struggling to get our numbers back to pre-pandemic levels, and we're concerned about our future as we try to manage rising rent and our debt burden. However, the fact that we're co-op had a major impact on our resilience through the crisis. When the pandemic first forced us to close our doors, we decided all together as a team how we could pivot, adjust our pay and fee structures, divide the labor to shift to teaching online. And we decided together how to keep the studio afloat while still making sure that teachers who most needed the work could keep teaching online. We were very grateful to have access to technical support from WCBDI partners and a couple small grants specific to worker co-ops. One example is NCNOC's Cooperative Sustainability Fund, which allowed us to pay for consulting sessions with another co-op, and that really helped us manage some communication and distribution of labor challenges we faced during the transition and to strategize for the future. I'm very happy we are still offering online classes in addition to our in-studio classes. However, our future is still uncertain. Our client numbers have not recovered, and our rent will make some large jumps over the next 8 years to get back to what's considered market rate, but that's not actually a sustainable rate given people aren't really willing to pay that much for yoga. There are limits, and we can't afford to take out another loan since we still have debt from our startup costs.
So
Additionally,
just a quick reminder.
I'll just wrap it up really quick.
Perfect.
Additionally, majority of co-ops in New York City have never even been able to access brick and mortar space because rents are too prohibitive. And this has been an issue long before the pandemic. It's not accurate to say that commercial rents are no longer an issue post-pandemic because small businesses are still closing their doors due to rent hikes or inability to pay back rent. There are zero protections for commercial tenants, and there's no limit to how much a commercial rent can be raised at the end of a lease. This makes it impossible for small businesses to plan for the future, and a fair and just system of commercial rent stabilization would help level the playing field and protect the city's diverse array of small businesses and making spaces more attainable for future small businesses, so essential to the cultural fabric of our great city. There's more about this in my written testimony, so please, WCBDI funding to $4.9 million and commercial rent stabilization. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we'll get to our last witness, who is in person, Karina Kaufman Gutierrez.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Farias and the committee. My name is Karina Kaufman Gutierrez. I'm the Deputy Director at the Street Vendor Project, and thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today. As the only organization that exclusively serves street vendors in New York City, SVP is the centralized hub for this underserved population, providing critical small business services and legal services to vendors since 2001. We respectfully request support from New York City Council to sustain and expand two of our critical programs, the Small Business Empowerment Program and our Community Outreach and Education for Street Vendors program. The demand for street vendor education and services continues to grow as the population transformed during the pandemic and continues to increase as many asylum seekers are beginning to vend. It is critical that there be an investment in education and training in these emerging small business owners to help them know their rights as well as their responsibilities, which SVP is primed to do. We are the one-stop shop for street vendors that helps them not only with legal representation, but helps them navigate complex street vending laws in 7 languages, Arabic, Bangla, Spanish, Mandarin, English, French, and Wolof, and offer training to build their skills to grow their businesses. Despite being a small team of just 3 full-time organizers, 2 part-time, and 1 lawyer on staff, in just the first 8 months of this fiscal year, we have supported 414 individual vendors with consultations on topics from sales tax filings to loan applications to negotiating catering contracts. And of these, 57% were in Spanish, 20% in Mandarin, 14% in English, and 5% in Arabic, and 3% in Bangla. 59% of those were with female identifying street vendors. We've also engaged 708 individual vendors through street outreach and resource fairs. We hold monthly workshops at our membership meetings with a regular attendance of 50 to 75 individuals. This week's, for example, was on registering for e-payment systems. Each of these engagements is with the purpose of helping a small business owner, to grow and become part of the formalized economy. Just a few success stories. Chef Tammy Treadwell of Harlem Seafood and Soul, we helped her to apply for a $20,000 interest-free grant through the Hebrew Free Loan Society in order to open up a stall at the DeKalb Marketplace. Ana Maldonado of La Michoacana Taqueria food truck, we helped her to negotiate a fair rental price at a commissary to prepare her food, and then helped her find a legal vending location in Washington Heights. Again, we are the one-stop shop for street vendors, and there's no city agency that meaningfully serves street vendors. This is a stark difference when compared with the investment in enforcement. DSNY, as of FY24, had adopted a budget that currently has $2.9 million budgeted for street vendor enforcement, which is set to increase to $4.7 million by FY27. Meanwhile, SBS reported this past September to Comptroller Brad Lander that they did not have staff dedicated to street vending, does not conduct in-person educational outreach, and does not have data on how many street vendors have accessed any of their services. To close, SVP, we're very eager to increase our services to vendors to really be able to empower these small business owners to improve their financial literacy, to help them integrate into the formalized economy. And we thank you for your consideration to increase our capacity.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Please make sure to submit that for the record. And seeing no one else lines up virtually or in person, this budget hearing is now adjourned. Thank you all.